Muted.
السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. I'm starting a new session. We'll continue with the Ahkam al-Mudud, the rulings around, or the rules around the lengthening of letters in this session. And inshallah, oh mashallah, yeah, Sheikh Hassam, yeah, I saw more of his lectures. He's really good, mashallah. So it's very beneficial that he's got the videos for the Tajweed lessons online on YouTube. So by all means, make use of them, because he's teaching really good and explains really well, prepares very well for the lectures. So alhamdulillah, continue using that, and it's a good thing to supplement. And like I said, don't just rely on. Okay, I can increase my volume. Don't just rely on one teacher. The more teachers you learn from, this is just the online thing that we're doing. This is basically just to give you some instructions, and you should also be participating in your masajid where you have Quran halaqas and so on, inshallah. So can everybody hear me properly now? What about Kamran? Can you hear me now? And will no improvement? Are you sure? I've got my microphone and my earphones attached. Maybe increase the volume on your end. My volume is all the way up. So, okay, and we'll give everybody a few minutes here to get started. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and play some Quran while we're, getting set up here. Let me see. Okay, khair, inshallah. There isn't a whole lot I can do on my end because this is the highest volume, and let's see if we can play some Quran before we start. And because we're doing Mudud, Mad letters, let me see if I can find some surah here which has a lot of application of the Mad. Okay. Let's start with this one. Let's play Sheikh Abdullah Basfar, Qari Abdullah Basfar. Read slower.
عَمَّ يَتَسَاءَلُونَ عَنِ النَّبَإِ الْعَظِيمِ الَّذِي هُمْ فِيهِ مُخْتَلِفُونَ كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ أَلَمْ نَجْعَلِ الْأَرْضَ مِهَادًا وَالْجِبَالَ أَوْتَادًا وَخَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ سُبَاتًا وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَّاجًا.
Let me see if I can play another surah. Has more. Let me play something from Surah Al-Ahzab.
يَا أَيُّهَا النَّبِيُّ اتَّقِ اللَّهَ وَلَا تُطِعِ الْكَافِرِينَ وَالْمُنَافِقِينَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلِيمًا حَكِيمًا وَاتَّبِعْ مَا يُوحَىٰ إِلَيْكَ مِن رَّبِّكَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرًا وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ وَكَفَىٰ بِاللَّهِ وَكِيلًا مَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِرَجُلٍ مِّن قَلْبَيْنِ فِي جَوْفِهِ وَمَا جَعَلَ أَزْوَاجِكُمْ مِنْهُنَّ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ وَمَا جَعَلَ أَدْعِيَاءَكُمْ أَبْنَاءَكُمْ ذَلِكُمْ قَوْلُكُم بِأَفْوَاهِكُمْ وَاللَّهُ يَقُولُ الْحَقَّ وَهُوَ يَهْدِي السَّبِيلَ.
So as you can see, there is a few places where we have to elongate, we have to lengthen, and it's really important to get the lengthening right.
إِنَّ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَالْمُسْلِمَاتِ وَالْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ وَالْقَانِتِينَ وَالْقَانِتَاتِ وَالصَّادِقِينَ وَالصَّادِقَاتِ وَالصَّابِرِينَ وَالصَّابِرَاتِ وَالْخَاشِعِينَ وَالْخَاشِعَاتِ وَالْمُتَصَدِّقِينَ وَالْمُتَصَدِّقَاتِ وَالصَّائِمِينَ وَالصَّائِمَاتِ وَالْحَافِظِينَ فُرُوجَهُمْ وَالْحَافِظَاتِ وَالذَّاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَالذَّاكِرَاتِ أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُم مَّغْفِرَةً وَأَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَن يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ وَمَن يَعْصِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ ضَلَّ ضَلَالًا مُّبِينًا. مَا كَانَ مُحَمَّدٌ أَبَا أَحَدٍ مِّن رِّجَالِكُمْ ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين وكان الله بكل شيء عليما.
Sadaqallah al-Azim. Okay, so we'll go back to our lesson. Inshallah, hopefully you can hear me correctly. This is about the mad, the ahkam al-mudud, and we learned some few basic things about the mudud because it's a lengthy chapter. That's why we're taking our time going over it, and we looked at the other YouTube lecture as well for our tajweed lesson from I forget the name of the sheikh now. We took the Sheikh Hussam's tajweed lesson, and we saw how he explains the various types of mudud that are available, and I mean it's basically the same thing that we're learning in our tajweed book. Okay, so we're following a tajweed book that has some similar. I mean it's almost exactly the same that he's teaching. So alhamdulillah, you guys can definitely make use of the YouTube lectures and get more benefit inshallah from there as well as maybe joining some tajweed class or Quran class within your community, because just 1 hour a week is not enough. And one of the students actually emailed me asking about Sunday mornings. Unfortunately, I actually have a class on Sunday morning that I'm studying, so I go and attend a class on Sunday morning, actually a couple of classes. So I'm quite busy Sunday morning, so we can't do Sunday morning, but we'll try some other day. I'm thinking maybe Friday night. Last night I had time, and but I don't know if it's convenient nighttime because I'm in California and you guys are all over the place. So if it's convenient for me, it may not be very convenient for you. It might be too late. So I think we'll stick to the Saturday morning alone for now, until we find another slot that is open that is more convenient for everybody else. So I'd like everybody to join. It doesn't help if there's only 1 or 2 people that are attending the lesson and everybody else kind of gets left behind, even though there are recordings, alhamdulillah, so you guys can actually benefit from that too. So in any case, we'll go over the definition of the mad. The mad is basically, the lengthening the sound with the letter of the mad letters, and there's only, the 3 mad letters: the alif sakina, al-maftuh ma qablaha, the alif that is always in this state, which is alif sakina preceded by a fatha. Okay, so if the alif, as we saw, has fatha before it, and ya sakina that has kasra before it, and waw sakina that has dhamma before it, because of the a, e, and u sound. If you have the fatha, kasra, and dhamma before them, it becomes lengthened into u, e, and so on. Okay. So, and then we saw the example. This is mad tabi'i, the natural mad. So you get u, the, na, because of the dhamma before the waw, kasra before the ya, and fatha before the alif. So you elongate or you lengthen them. Okay. And then we also have huruf al-layn. We will cover them in a couple of, in maybe next lecture. Okay. And then you have al-mad al-asli and al-mad al-far'i. So the natural mad, or the the original mad that is basically the reason why we have the mad is because we have long vowels, so to speak, right? You cannot have mad without the long voweling in Arabic. So you have this is the mad tabi'i, where you have what is it? It should not be a hamza before it, and there should not be a hamza nor sukun after it. Then it is original, because it is the original of all hudud, and it's called tabi'i, natural, because the person with a natural measure will not increase its measure nor decrease it. Okay, and the hamza and sukun are because if they have hamza or sukun after it, then it becomes mad al-far'i. So we'll learn that today, inshallah. So without the hamza or sukun after it, just with the fatha, kasra, and dhamma preceding the alif, ya, and waw respectively, then you have what is called mattabi'i, and it will be two harakatain, which means two harakas. You basically increase instead of the normal, if you have one fatha, one kasra, and one dhamma, like alif and has a fatha on top of it, you just say a, and ba, if it has a fatha on it, you say ba. You don't say ba. So you just have one haraka, and as the Sheikh was mentioning in the video, it was half a second. And if you have two harakatain, so you have two harakas, then it will be a whole second. So it will be ba instead of ba. Okay. That is the natural mud. Okay, the lengthen is lengthened two vowel counts. The timing of each count depends on the speed of the normally it's like half a second to for one haraka, and so the mud will be 1 second, okay, or something like that. Okay, and so not everybody is going to pronounce it the same length, obviously. Okay. Included in mad tabi'i is the group of the letters called the hayy tahur. This is because ha, ya, ta, ha, ra, hayy tahur, which is just a kind of thing to, you can just memorize this, and if you see any of these letters, it starts some surahs of the Quran, like Taha, Yasin, that kind of stuff. So you will give those letters, the muttabi'i, the two harakas length, okay? So in the case of kaf, ha, ya, ain, sad, so you have kaf, ha, ya, ain, sad. So because the kaf, ain, and sad, they are longer because they fall under the other mud, but ha and ya, they are part of this hayy tahur, the ha, ya, ta, ha, ra. So these are the letters when you encounter them in the beginning of the of a surah, like like I mentioned, Taha, Yasin, Hamim, Hamim, Ain, Sin, Qaf. So all of those things, these letters, they will be two harakas, and the other letters will be depending on the other rules. Okay. All right. So in the natural mud, you have two kinds. Okay. You have mud silat al-sughra and mud iwad. So we'll look at those real quick. Okay. So mud silat al-sughra is the lesser connecting mud. Okay. So this one is basically a mud that comes from ha al-damir, which is the ha at the end of some letters, some words that make it, like usually it means, because if you have just a ha, it means it belongs to him, something that belongs to him. Innahu means verily he, or kitabuhu means his book, baytihi, it means his house, and so on. So it's part of the Arabic language where ad-damir is a pronoun. Okay, so ha ad-damir is the ha that makes the pronoun, that makes something belong to somebody, right? Well, like I mentioned, baytihi, that means the house belongs to him. Fi baytihi means in his house, and so on, right? So and we will get many examples here, inshallah. The ha is not part of the original makeup of the word, so it's not the word in the word itself, but it gets attached to the word, so it becomes like his house or his life, or whatever the word might be, right? So it is voweled either with a dhamma or a kasra, and is positioned between two voweled letters. The reader is not stopping on it, and it's not followed by a hamza. Okay, so these conditions, they must not be stopping on that letter. If they stop it, then it becomes like innahu, if they stop right there, it becomes inna. You don't say innahu, there's no mad. Okay, and bi'ibadihi. So instead of if he's not stopping there, it's going to be bi'ibadihi khabiran basira. But if he stops there, if you stop there, it will be bi'ibadihi. So notice there's no mad because you stopped at it. It becomes a sukoon, right? So when these requirements are met, and if there is a hamza in the next letter, in the next word, if there is a hamza, then it becomes the mad fara'i. So we will cover that next. It will be a different rule there. But because there is no hamza here, then it becomes, there's no hamza here, it becomes normal mad silat sughra. And let me see, I think this is 2 harakas as well. Okay, so all right, where were we? When these requirements are all met, the dhamma, if there is one, becomes lengthened into a lengthened waw. The kasra becomes lengthened like the ya. When stopping on this ha, we stop with a regular sukoon, and the mad sila is dropped. Okay, all right. All right, so this is one example. إِنَّهُ كَانَ بِعِبَادِهِ خَبِيرًا بَصِيرًا. If the ha has a sukoon on it when continuing and when stopping, there is no lengthening of the ha. If the letter before and after the ha has a sukoon on it, then there is no lengthening of the ha. Okay. All right. So those are the rules around it. Mad sila, exceptions to the mad sila are these. Okay. وَإِن تَشْكُرُوا يَرْضَهُ لَكُمْ. So even though the conditions are met here, because there is a ha with a dhamma on it, and there is no hamza, and there is no sukoon on anything before it or after it, so it should really be يَرْضَهُ لَكُمْ. But this is just the way this is read. يَرْضَهُ لَكُمْ. This is one of the exceptions, and then وَيَخْلُدْ فِيهِ مُهَانًا. وَيَخْلُدْ فِيهِ مُهَانًا. And there is no mad of the ha even though all the conditions are met. And here there is mad even though all of the conditions have not been met. Okay, so even though there is a sukoon before it, there shouldn't really be a mad here. وَيَخْلُدْ فِي, it should say فِيهِ مُهَانًا, but the way this is read is an exception to that normal rule, and you do have a mad. Okay, وَيَخْلُدْ فِيهِ مُهَانًا. Okay, so this is just the exceptions. You just have to remember these exceptions. Okay, there's no reason for these exceptions. This is the way Hafs read these ayat. The pronoun ha of the female noun hadihi, which means this, referring to the female object, follows a mad silat rule if it is between 2 vowel letters. Inna hadihi tadhkira. Even though this is not really the ha ad-damir, but this is part of this word, but it still follows that rule. Okay, so this is another sort of kind of an exception. Okay, so that was the mad silat sughra. Now we're going to look at mad al-iwad, the substitute mad. Okay, the substituting lengthened alif of the tanween with a fatha when stopping on it. Okay, so this lengthen is 2 counts, which means the length of 2 vowels, the same as the mad tabi'i. This mad takes place when whether there is an alif written after the letter with the tanween or not. When the conjunction, when continuing, reading, and not stopping on the word that with the fatha, this lengthening disappears and the nun sakina rules are applied to the tanween. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. What this basically means is that when you have a fatha like this, double fatha, okay, we were learning the tanween rules, we had double fatha, so basically this will have tanween stuff, right? So bana, and then if there is a, whatever follows after that, you will either have idgham, ikhfa, or iqlab, so those tanween rules will apply. But if you do stop on this, right, so because this is a this has double fatha, and if you stopped here, it will be bana, bana, and then same thing, ma. Now if you didn't stop, then it will be bana'an something, right? If it had waw, and if it has one of the non-throat letters like bana, bana'an kana, or something like that. You know, I don't know what happens after bana'a. This I can't remember. But if it had one of the throat letters, then you would have izhar, bana'an. And if you had one of the non-throat letters, it will have bana'an. It will have like gunna, and you'll do ikhfa. And if it has one of the iqlab letters, you would either do iqlab with gunna and iqlab without gunna. Remember those rules? So it will have those rules applying. But since we're looking at the mad al-iwad, which means that if you stopped on this hamza with the two fathas, and it will be bana, and then here if you stopped at the hamza, it will be ma, and then if you stopped at the huda, it will be huda, and if you didn't stop, it will be hudan kana or hudan wama, something like that, right? So it will either join them with iqlab, with idgham, or it will either be, or iqlab if it was a meme after it, for example, hudan, or it will be ikhfa if it has one of the ikhfa letters, or if it could be izhar if it had one of the izhar letters. And same thing here, musamma, shakura, and if you didn't stop, it will be shakuran something, right? Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I know it's a lot of things to remember, and it just takes practice. And once you get practice under your belt, you listen to a lot of the qaris reading, you practice yourself reading, then inshallah it will become very, very natural to you. Every time you encounter these, you will be able to pronounce them correctly. Now that we know what the rule is, we can also look at the exceptions. Not included in this mad is ha at-ta'nis. Ha at-ta'nis is similar to when we're looking at ha ad-damir. Okay, ha ad-damir is basically al-ha that makes the it's like a pronounce, right? Pronounce, so it will be it makes something belonging to somebody, right? Okay, so for example, innahu kana bi'ibadihi. So bi'ibadihi means his slaves. Okay, innahu kana bi'ibadihi means his slaves. Khabiran basira. Sorry, that was my phone. Okay, so إِنَّهُ كَانَ بِعِبَادِهِ خَبِيرًا بَصِيرًا, and he is, this is talking about Allah, he is with his slaves knowing and seeing. He basically is aware of his slaves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything about their slaves, about his slaves, and also he's seeing of them. He sees what they do. So here, بِعِبَادِهِ, it means his slaves, okay, Allah's slaves. So this is ha ad-damir, and here we are talking about ta at-ta'nith. So this is Arabic grammar again. Ha at-ta'nith, sorry, ha at-ta'nith. So it is ha, which basically is makes something a feminine noun, okay. So not included in this mad is ha at-ta'nith. This letter represented in Arabic as ta marbuta, which is this, how you write it. This is like a ha with two dots on it, ta marbuta. And when linked to the letter before it, it looks like this. So you have two types of writing of this. I don't know if you can see that clearly. I'll increase it. Okay. So ta connected to something, or ta by itself. These are both the same, and they are ta marbuta. And they're called ha at-ta'nis, meaning when you stop on them, the sound is ha, like ha, but these rules don't apply to it. This letter occurs on the end of nouns and indicates female gender. It's always read as ha sakina when stopping on the word, and is always read as ta in the case of continuing. So if you continue, it will be ni'matan or rahmatan. So, it will be like that. So if you continue, right? But if you stopped on it, it will be ni'mah, rahmah. You won't have this rule, even though there is two fathas on it, and you're stopping on them. You won't have the mad al-iwad happening on this ta at-ta'nis or ha at-ta'nis. Sorry. Okay. So even though it's the double fatha rule, but there is no lengthening because of this exception to the rule. Okay. The written vowel accompanying the ta is read with ta upon reading it with continuing that word that follows it. When a noun with ha ta'nis has a tanween with a fatha on tanween, the word should be stopped on with ha sakina, and there is no lengthening. It's found in words such as ni'matan or rahmatan. Okay, so those are two examples. Now we have al-mad al-far'i. Al-mad al-far'i is the secondary mud, which means that there is a reason for this type of mud other than what was already covered. Okay, so we will just cover what the different types are, but we won't go into the details because I think it's going to be too much, and we will continue with them with these rules in the next lecture, inshallah. So we will basically just mention what these mad al-far'i are, because there is a bunch of them. Okay, so all right. So it starts from here, mad al-far'i, the secondary mad. The definition is it is a lengthening of longer than that of mad al-tabi sukun. Letters sukun stand on their normal typing. Okay, so mad tabi'i was 2 harakas or just 1 second instead of just yeah. So Al-Waqi'a probably has it has a lot of them. So in the case of the occurrence of Hamza before the mad letter or after it, or a sukun after it, regardless of the sukun is permanent or when continuing and when stopping, or if the sukun is a presented one, then you have mad al and you have al-mad bisabab al-hams because of the hamza, al-mad bisabab al-sukun or al-sukun, and then mad bisabab al-hams because of the hamza. It is also subdivided into 4 different categories: mad al-badal, mad wajib, mad al-wajib al-muttasil, mad al-jaiz al-munfasil, and mad silat kubra. Okay, so these are the 4 types under for ham. Then if you have sukun, you have mad al-arid li-sukun, mad al-lain, and mad al-lazim. Okay, so as you can see, there is a bunch of different examples here, and I actually watched the video of Sheikh Assam for this one, the mad bisabab al-hams, and he explains it quite well. So I will post that on the Facebook page for you guys to listen and watch before coming to the next lecture. That way you have some background and you understand what he's talking about to a degree, and then inshallah I'll explain it in the next class. So for now, we will suffice it to stop here, and inshallah we will give you guys a chance to read from Surah Al-Waqi'ah. Let's see if we can get to Surah Al-Waqi'ah and you guys can read some of that. Right, so that's a good one. Let me see. Let me get to the place where there is mud. Let me see. I want some really long. Actually, we haven't really covered the long ones, have we? We just covered the ones that are just mad tabi'i and beginning to start mad al-far'i. So let's listen to the beginning. Let's few verses and see if we can practice.
إذا وقعت الواقعة ليس لوقعتها كاذبة خافضة رافعة إذا رجت الأرض رجا وبست الجبال بسا فكانت هباء منبثا وكنتم أزواجا ثلاثة فأصحاب الميمنة ما أصحاب الميمنة وأصحاب المشأمة ما أصحاب المشأمة.
Actually, I want to see if we can do النازعات. And when we do the other mudud, the longer ones, we will try Surah Ar-Rahman, because it seems to have a lot of them, right? So trying to see which surah is a good one to with this. We listened to a little bit of this in the beginning of the class. So how about I read it and then you guys read some to practice. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا. Now if I didn't stop here, it will be وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا. So because I increase because I stop at these, then I make a mud letter. Otherwise, if I don't stop, then it will be Tanween rules. Okay, I'll see if I can increase the font, magnify the page a little bit. Okay. Good. Okay, inshallah. So I'll get you guys to read it one by one. So, moment, Brother Shahid Ahsan, you go ahead and read.
Assalamu alaikum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أما يتساءلون عن النبي العظيم.
يتساءلون
أما يتساءلون عن النبي العظيم نبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, so I think you got the idea that you know, when you stop at the, you know, where you have the fatha, double fatha, you have the tanween, but if you stop here, أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا. So excellent. This is how you are supposed to read them. We'll go to the next person, inshallah. Kamran. Okay, go ahead, Kamran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عما يتساءلون عن النباع العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون
عن النبأ العظيم.
عن النبع العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وحاجا. Sorry?
Jazakallah khair, Kamran. We'll go to the, I say Jazakallah khair, that's enough. So we'll go to the next one, inshallah. Okay. Tahir Amin.
السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل
I lost your audio. وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا.
لباس معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وحاجا.
Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. Very good. Alhamdulillah, you guys are reading properly with the mudud. I'm not paying attention to everything right now, but you should, you know, when you guys are reading, just make sure that each and every letter is pronounced from the right makhraj. Like a lot of you just pronounce Alam Naj'alil Arza. This is actually a dad. So you say Alam Naj'alil Arda Mihada. When you say Thumma, so you have to pronounce the Tha properly. Thumma with the, not Summa, but Thumma. Okay. So there's a slight difference where you put the tongue when you're pronouncing the Seen versus the Tha, and so on. So Jazakallah khair. And when you also pronounce Azwaja, you have to make sure that you're pronouncing the Za and not the Dal, and vice versa. When you pronounce Dal, you make sure you pronounce it properly. So don't let go of any of those rules that we learned. And Amma Yatasa'alun, this is A with Ain. This is very hard for normally non-Arab speakers, no matter where they're from. If they're not Arab, it's really hard. You have to pronounce, you have to practice. But if you practice it, you know, a lot, and you listen to to it a lot, then you can pronounce it almost perfect, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. So we'll go to the next person, Wasim Aftab. Go ahead, Wasim Saab. You may have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Amma yatasalun. Ala an-nabiy al-azim.
عن
النبي العظيم الذي هم فيها مختلفون فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجل أرض مهادا والجبال الأودادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سواء شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا وأنزلنا من المسيرات مسجاجا.
Okay, that's enough. Jazakallah khair. وأنزلنا من المعصرات Fajjaja. Good one actually, because if you stopped at ma'a, then you would have to say وأنزلنا من المعصرات ماء. If you stopped at the ma'a, then you have to say ma'a. But if you don't stop, then you have to say ma'an sajjaja. Okay, Jazakallah khair. And just keep practicing. And I mean, I feel sometimes that you guys are doing really well. It's just that we have to spend more time. The Quran is such that the more time we spend on it, the easier it will get for us to pronounce. And theoretically, when we do this, we should be really, focusing on each verse and correcting it and repeating it until we get it absolutely right. Okay. But I know we only have 1 hour and we have to go through the rules as well. But inshallah, once we're done with some of the rules, then we will just focus on, repeating the recitations until we get it all correct. So speaking of which, we will go back to the last surahs because we want to memorize the last surahs, right? So let's see if we did until Tabbat Yada, and I think the next one is Idha Ja'a Nasrullahi wal Fath. So what I will do is I'll go ahead and read Idha Ja'a Nasrullah, and we can go from there, okay? And inshallah, once you guys come next week, you can have it memorized. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر إنه كان توابا. This is also a good example because it has afwaja right here. You stopped here, so you make a mud because of the stopping. Afwaja. And there is another mud here, but we haven't taken this mud. This is mud al-far'i. We will take this in the next class, inshallah. So إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. So it's 4 or 5 harakas. So إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. So I'll have you guys read with me. So Shahid Hassan, I'm going to unmute you. And we're practicing this because you guys will have this homework to memorize this and come back next week and recite it for me through your memory. Okay, inshallah. Okay, so repeat after me. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
Pronounce the hamza too at the end of the إذا جاء. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
Also the dhal in the إذا, it has to be where your tongue is sticking out slightly to touch the top part of your top two teeth, okay? The bottom part of your top two teeth, sorry. So إذا جاء نصر الله إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا.
ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا.
في دين الله أفواجا.
في دين الله أفواجا.
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 Jazakallah, that's better. فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر.
فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر.
بحمد ربك.
بحمد ربك واستغفر.
إنه كان توابا.
إنه كان توابا.
Jazakallah khair. Go to the next one. Kamran, unmute you in a second here. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا.
ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا.
فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر.
فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر.
إنه كان توابا. Very good. Okay. Okay. Tahir Amin, it's your turn. Let me see. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
نصر الله والفتح.
نصر الله والفتح.
I know we haven't taken this rule yet, but this lam in the Nasrullah, in Allah is like really thick, right? Nasrullahi wal fath. Try it. What you're pronouncing is Nasrullahi, which is not correct. It has to be Nasrullahi. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
Very good, Jazakallah, very good. You see the improvement right away. Because mostly, inshallah, we will take this rule in few sessions from now. But when you have the fatha or a dhamma before the lam, it will become, and also before the ra, it becomes thick. Nasrullahi. And if you had kasra before the lam, it becomes thin, like Bismillah. You don't say Bismillah, you say Bismillah, right? But in this case, because of the dhamma, because of the pesh there, you say Nasrullahi. So إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
MashaAllah. ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا.
ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا.
MashaAllah. فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر.
فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر.
إنه كان توابا.
إنه كان توابا.
Jazakallah khair. Okay. So remember, we are memorizing this for next week. Inshallah, make sure you listen to the Sheikh Abdullah Basfar, and when you're memorizing, make sure your memorization has the correct pronunciation. So listen to the Sheikh a few times and then memorize. Okay, Wasim Saab. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
You have to pronounce the Hamza. إذا جاء.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا.
ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا.
ورأيت الناس.
ورأيت الناس
يدخلون. Yeah, I stopped there because before, when you read it, you said ورأيت الناس. It's a ورأيت الناس. There is a fatha on the scene, right? So you have to pronounce it.
ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا.
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 فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر.
فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر.
إنه كان توابا.
إنه كان توابا.
Jazakallah khair. Very good. So alhamdulillah, I'm seeing that the pronunciation is doing very well. So just a word of caution that before you memorize, do listen to the Sheikh reciting it. That way you will be sure that you're not pronouncing anything incorrect. Memorize anything incorrectly, that would be bad, right?
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. تبت في.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So we're almost sorry, I have to connect my earphone. So we're almost to the end of the first book. We have to finish the mud, and we have a couple of chapters at the end, including the qalqala, which is, I think it's not that hard to learn the proper rules of tajweed when it comes to qalqala. So we will do those, and after that I'll do like a revision session, and we'll give you a test of all the tajweed rules. So you'll have to really study the book, and almost like a normal test where you have multiple choice. You have to pick the right answer from a list of 3 or 4, 4 or 5 actually, 4 or 5 answers. So I'll prepare an exam for you after that. So I'm just giving you ahead of time. The exam is probably going to be like 3 or 4 weeks from now. So we'll announce it before then. And inshallah, hopefully, we will try to solidify the learnings that we have done so far. So the first book will have the test, and then we will have also a test of your recitation, obviously. So I think by that time we would have covered at least, let me see. Sorry. Trying to just turn the page here. Okay, we would have reached probably like Arayt al-Ladhi or something like that. Or we can try and finish the last 10 surahs from Alam Tara to Qul A'udhu bi Rabbin Nas by that time. And then we will test you to have the right pronunciation and memorization of those 10. I don't know if it's too ambitious. Maybe we'll just stick to the ones that we have so far. But the idea is that we'll learn to pronounce all of these surahs properly, memorize them, and have the first book completed and all the rules understood and under your belt before starting the next book. The next book we will only start after you guys have passed that exam and you have memorized these surahs, inshallah. Okay, so inshallah until next week, I urge you to practice from Abdullah Basfar's recitations and listen to the YouTube lectures by Sheikh Hussam. I will post the next one online, so you will have some understanding of Mad al-Far'i before coming to the next lecture. It will be helpful because there's quite a few rules from Mad al-Far'i that we have to remember. But once you get the rules down, inshallah, it will be just a matter of practicing them, and then you will be very, very good in your recitation. Then remember, our intention is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nothing else. So we're doing this to make sure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with our recitation, and we're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Him alone, inshallah. So paying attention to each letter, how to pronounce them, is very, very important. Following the rules of tajweed in our recitation is very, very important. So inshallah we will get these down, and I'm really proud that you guys are sticking around and making the effort in order to learn. And inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward our efforts, and He will make us successful through our efforts. Okay, so alhamdulillah, I'm seeing quite a bit of improvement already, so let's keep it up and practice as much as you possibly can throughout the week. Read as much as you can, listen to the Quran as much as you can, and before the exam, obviously you'll have to look at the go through the book quite a bit in order to make sure that and you can pass the exam. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.